Welcome to the online version of History 122, The Modern World. My name is Joel Tannenbaum. I'm your instructor for the course. You can contact me at any time via our web study classroom or via email at jtannenbaum@ccp.edu, or you can try me in my office at 215-751-8654 or in person. The office is in the Bunnell building. It's BR 25K. Maybe I'll be there. So you can sum up this class with a single question. How did the world we live in today get to be the way that it is? We're going to try to answer that question by looking at approximately the last 500 years of human affairs. Our primary tool for answering this question is going to be a book. This book. There we go. The World, A History by Felipe Fernandez Armesto. So why 500 years? To answer that question, I'm going to have to go quite a bit further back, I'm afraid. So you, me, everyone you know, everyone you've ever met belongs to a family of great apes that scientists call Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens originated in Africa about 100,000 years ago and over time spread out across pretty much all of the Earth's habitable land masses. From Africa we went to the Middle East. From the Middle East we went to both Europe and Asia. From Asia, some intrepid early humans using very simple watercrafts and navigations made it all the way to what is now Australia. Others, considerably later, crossed a narrow bridge of land that once connected Siberia with Alaska, and from there populated all of the Americas. Even later, some other humans left Southeast Asia and eventually populated most of the Pacific Islands, Hawaii, Tahiti, etc. The reason these migrations were possible is that for most of the last 100,000 years, the planet was in the midst of an ice age. Temperatures were much colder, meaning that a great deal more of the Earth's oceans were frozen into glaciers in and around the North and South poles. Therefore, global sea levels were lower, meaning that more land was exposed. Now, beginning around 10 or 15,000 years ago, this ice age came to an end. This meant that much of this glaciated water began to melt, causing sea levels to rise. Many of these exposed land masses that made these early migrations possible were submerged. Therefore, many of these age-old migratory routes were closed off. So what? Well, for our purposes, this is significant for one particular reason. For over 10,000 years after the end of the Ice Age, two major sets of human populations developed in isolation from each other. One was in the Americas, meaning for our purposes from Alaska all the way to the southern tip of Argentina, and some people called this the New World. The other was much larger, consisting of Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and Europe, and sometimes people call this the Old World. This is not to say that everyone in the New World knew about everyone else, nor is it to say that everyone in the Old World knew about everyone else. It's highly unlikely that in the year 1000 CE, for example, if you visited a Lenape village in this region, in the Delaware Valley, it's unlikely that the people there would be able to tell you about the vast city-states of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. It's equally unlikely that if you visited a fishing village in the Old World, say on the island of Java in Indonesia 1,000 years ago, the people there would be able to tell you about, say, the Swahili kingdoms of East Africa. Nonetheless, the societies of the Old World were connected by long indirect trade routes, by the spread of diseases to which people gradually developed immunities, and by the slow spread of technologies for farming, for the domestication of animals, etc. The societies of the New World were also connected, but in different ways. This brings us to the chief differences between the New World and the Old World during this 10,000-year period of isolation. Migrants to both places started out as hunters, following the migratory patterns of large animals. But as human populations increased, the animals tended to die off. Now, in the Old World, this happened much faster than in the New World. So beginning around 7,000 or 8,000 years ago, life in the Old World began to change very rapidly. People stopped migrating and started living in one place. They began cultivating land, what we call farming. They began domesticating animals, right? Over thousands of years in the Middle East and much of Africa, in East and Southeast Asia, and in Europe, the old tribal affiliations gave way to larger ones. First the village, then the town, then the city. Soon cities began to conquer and subjugate other cities and became empires. New technologies developed every step of the way, for farming, for herding, for killing, for counting, for sharing information, and for speculating about the origins of the world and of humanity. By the 15th century, much of the Old World was organized into rival empires. Some were based on farming, some were based on herding. They fought with each other. They fought amongst themselves. Most were organized around religious identities that, in theory anyway, were open to anyone willing to profess allegiance to them. In some ways, the New World was similar, but not identical. In North America, for example, by creating economies based on a mixture of farming, fishing, and hunting, many societies were able to thrive without intensely exploiting the land around them. Further south in the New World, in Mexico and South America, empires similar to those of the Old World developed, but with crucial differences. One in particular, they never needed to domesticate animals. Now, this may sound obscure, but as you'll see, it's not. It's crucial for what we're going to be studying this semester. Now, to sum up, archaeologists, biologists, anthropologists, historians will generally agree that since humans first came on the scene, there have been several pivotal moments that have shaped our future. There were our first migrations out of Africa, maybe 100,000 years ago. There were our first crude attempts at verbal and sign communication. We think these occurred maybe 50,000 years ago. There were our first attempts at sailing, maybe 40,000 years ago. There were our first attempts to represent the world around us through drawing and sculpture. These were maybe 20,000 years ago. There were our first attempts at farming, maybe beginning around 10,000 years ago. This class is about the most recent of these pivotal moments. A little over 500 years ago, when people from the New World awoke one day to find people from the Old World setting foot on their shores bearing strange ideas, strange technologies, and strange diseases that would radically reshape the world in ways that are still reverberating today. So, please check this week's timeline for your assignments, and please contact me with any questions. I really look forward to communicating with all of you throughout the semester. Thanks.